It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catafamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio with us today. Today via Zoom is Northern Arizona healthcare surgeon Dr. Robert Berger is with us in studio. Their website at Northern Arizona Healthcare is nahealth.com, nahealth.com. Welcome to the studio, Dr. Berger. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Carly reached out and said we want to talk about bariatric surgery. And so I thought we'd start with the fact that you've got this program started up at Northern Arizona Healthcare. Can you take us on that little journey, how that came about?
Sure. Back in 2004, my wife and I were out in Chicago, and I had just finished up my fellowship training and had spent some time there. And we were wanting to return back to Arizona. Her family is here. My family's in Arizona, so I wanted to come back closer to roots. So one of my good friends from medical school and residency, Dr. Andrew Aldridge, who's also here at Flagstaff Surgical Associates, reached out to me, and he was looking for someone to come join him in his practice. So came out to Flagstaff and looked around and fell in love with it, and so checked all the boxes, and so came out here. And since I had been doing a lot of bariatric surgery, we looked at the population here and the fact that there wasn't anything like that offered for Northern Arizona. Started to talk with the administration at Northern Arizona Healthcare and presented them with the opportunity to do that, and they saw the benefits of that as well. So we started the program back in 2004. Basically took a specialized team, kind of gave them some training, actually took them out to a program in Florida so that they could walk through, kind of see what it would look like. And then they brought that knowledge back here and started the program up in 2004. And it's been going strong ever since.
It can't be an easy endeavor to start something like that. I mean, do you have to have the space for it? Or is it something that can kind of overlap a different aspect of the hospital?
Well, so one of the things is it works really well with the surgery department here and everything that they had going on. One of the first things I did with Dr. Aldridge is we actually walked around, and because he hadn't done any bariatric surgery, and so we walked around and looked at his current patient population and some of the surgeries he'd done and some of the patients who were admitted to the hospital back in 2004. And I pointed out to him that basically about a third of the patients that he had operated on that week would have qualified for bariatric surgery. And then as far as the physical capacity and everything like that, that is specific requirements that the hospital had to make the investment in, which they were willing to do for the benefit of the patient population. And so in working with them, they made that commitment and purchased all the necessary equipment and things like that. So then we were able to provide it safely to the patient population here.
I can imagine you're probably busy, right?
We are busy. We also do other surgeries, so it's not just that, but it is probably about 25-30% of our surgeries, our patient population that we see up here in Flagstaff. We do get patients from all over the Northern Arizona region and the Four Corner region, so keeps us busy for sure. Yeah, We're doing over 100 cases a year. We've done close to 1,500 now, I believe. So
at least 100 cases per year. Then you're helping out with the bariatric surgery.
Yep. Yeah.
So let's get into the bariatric surgery part of it. So I imagine maybe some folks are coming to you. It could be their last resort. I was telling you before the show started that my wife has tried numerous different exercise plans, and she has finally found one that seems to be working for her, and the diet and the workout and everything, and it seems to be working for her just great, and she's super happy with it. But there's got to be folks out there who probably have tried numerous different weight loss options, and I kind of feel like maybe Dr. Berger's their last hope. How does that kind of work out, and then what's required in order to even get started in something like this to go down that road?
Yeah. So basically, when the CDC does their studies of the U.S. population, there's about 40% of the population that is actually diagnosed with obesity, and about 10% of the U.S. population has severe obesity. When we look at patients who would qualify or be appropriate candidates, typically it's a body mass index of about 35 or higher with what we call comorbid conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, things like that, or a body mass index of 40 or higher, which correlates to about 100 pounds overweight. So for patients, a lot of times that obviously doesn't happen overnight, occurs over years, and all of our patients have typically struggled with diets. They've all tried different diets. A lot of them have what we call yo-yo diets, where they lose the weight, they gain the weight, they lose the weight, they gain the weight. And they've reached out to their physicians, or a lot of times it's talking with family or friends. They've done a lot of research online. So patients will typically spend about 2 years working on this, researching it, struggling through it, before they reach out or find a program that they can work with that may offer weight loss surgery. Obviously, dieting or what I would call lifestyle changes are the first things that we really encourage patients to try. There are obviously risks with the surgery. So one of the aspects of our program is that we actually have patients work with a dietitian. They work with a bariatrician, who's our nurse practitioner who works with them. We also have them work with the psychologist. We do all of those things before surgery, because once you have the surgery, obviously that's you can't just go back and restart it or start over again. So that's a really major commitment. So we want to make sure that patients have tried everything before, and that they're educated and prepared for the changes that will come after the surgery.
What if I don't want to do that? What if I don't want to do any of those things you just said, and I just want to come in and have you give me the surgery?
We wouldn't do that, honestly. We sort of equate it to pregnancy. You get that 9 months to kind of think about it, prepare for it. It's such a major change that we really feel you need minimum 4 months with education to be aware of what the changes are going to be, and what being safe afterwards involves. What's an appropriate diet afterwards, because with the physical and mechanical changes that we make with the surgery, you need to be aware of what you can do to harm yourself and how to avoid that and what to watch for. So we don't just have you come in, sign up, and a week later do the surgery. It's really an educational process that we want patients to go through so that they can be successful in the long term as well. So we really feel that's part of the benefit of having a program where we go through several months of training. And some patients, if they're not ready at 4 months, and anybody on the team feels that they're not prepared, whether it's mentally or medically, physically, things like that, then we'll delay the surgery and we'll wait until they are ready, and we'll address the issues and make sure that they're going to be as prepared as they can be to be as successful as they can be.
Now, do you set these folks up? Say they've got a eating disorder and they eat, but we need to figure out why it is. What are you supplementing with the food? Do you set them up with that, or do you say, well, you need to go do this, and this first, and then come back and see me? How does hold on to that question. Okay, we got to take our first break. Okay, let's take our first break. Northern Arizona healthcare surgeon Dr. Robert Berger in studio with us today. nahealth.com is the website for Northern Arizona Healthcare. nahealth.com. Stick around, Countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
Terrifying jobs. Bull Rider, take 2. Cliff, this seems like a really terrifying job. Why do you do it?
I love protecting the bull riders when they get bucked up.
How big are these bulls?
12 to 2,200 pounds of pure muscle.
You're not cowed by any of this, obviously. Is there anything that scares you?
Yeah, distracted drivers terrify me.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
The EPA says C&B Construction ranks in the top 1% nationally. C&B Construction invites you to see what energy efficiency and indoor air quality can be. We have won another Department of Energy Innovation Award, and C&B Construction is the only contractor in the country to win 6 consecutive EPA Indoor Air Plus awards. Experience our zero-energy, move-in ready homes at Crossroads at Mingus.
C&B Construction, locally respected, nationally recognized. Find out more at C&B Homes.com.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking with Northern Arizona healthcare surgeon Dr. Robert Berger. nahealth.com is the website, nahealth.com. So I was asking you just before the break is, okay, so if I come in and I need this help and you sit me down, you talk to me, okay, well, we need to go through this, and this. Is it something where you say you recommend folks I should go talk to and get these things handled? Because you made it sound like maybe about 4 months, which of course is not one size fits all, but about 4 months of work that needs to be done before you'll even consider surgery. Is all that help available through the Northern Arizona Healthcare?
Yes. Yep. It actually is. It's a great program in the sense that once you get into the program, we help facilitate that with making the appointments and getting the referrals. And that's part of the process. As you come back on a monthly basis, you're coming back and we're following up on those appointments, making sure that they're accomplished and seeing what those specialists recommend. If we need to send you maybe to a cardiologist to get your heart checked out, or maybe a sleep specialist to check for sleep apnea. And so that's part of the follow-up with the weight management clinic, is getting all those referrals and things taken care of in that process before surgery.
Wow. Okay. Is there a certain weight that, a limit to where I can actually be helped? I mean, I don't know what weight I have to be to have you look at me and say, no, we're going to have you lose some weight before we can even think about doing the surgery. What kind of cases are we talking about in regards to that?
So for our facility up here, we actually, our biggest limitation is the CT scanner. And the table on the CT scanner has a limit of 450 pounds. And we want to make sure that if a patient does have an issue and we need to do a CT scan, that we're able to do that. So right now, that's around that weight of 450. We would be talking with the patient and making sure that we had them down below that before we would do surgery, so that if we needed to do a CT scan, then we could provide that service to them.
Okay, all right. And then after I go through all this with you, then I come back in and I sit down with Dr. Berger and I say, okay, am I ready for the surgery? Then what takes place? After I've gone through all this and I show that I'm willing to do these steps to make sure that what the issue is with my body right now doesn't happen again, then what happens when I sit down with you?
So that would be our second visit. We actually visit with the patients at the beginning, before they start to go through the process, just to kind of review the different surgeries, answer any obvious questions. You know, if a patient would not be a good candidate for surgery, we will tell you that also, because there are still the options to work with the weight management clinic for medically supervised weight loss, so we would still encourage patients to do that. But if we've gone through that process and you've had other attempts at medical management, it's not worked, then we would talk about, again, the type of surgery, make sure that all your questions are answered. We, again, review risks and the benefits and make sure that we have a surgery date and set to go, and we would go from there. Over the years, I've had a few patients who do the medical management and they do great, and you know, they say, well, I'm not ready or just don't feel I need to have the surgery, and we support that also, you know, because there are risks with the surgery, so we want to make sure that they're comfortable with that decision.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about that, let folks know what are some of the risks, and then of course I think the benefits are pretty obvious. You're going to lose weight and your body should feel a lot better. All your joints are going to work better and everything, but what are some of the risks with having the bariatric surgery?
So the interesting thing when we look at all the different surgeries, the risks of weight loss surgery is really very similar to gallbladder surgery, appendix surgery, things like that. Overall, it's about a 4% risk for a major complication. And of course, everybody worries about the risk of death. The risk of death is 0.1%. So very low, and again, similar to undergoing any other major laparoscopic surgery. What patients really benefit from, as you mentioned with the weight loss, patients will see about 60% of that excess weight loss in 6 months after surgery, and up to 77-80% excess weight loss at about a year. Now, for somebody who's 100 pounds overweight, that means 60-pound weight loss in 6 months. So they're averaging about 10 to 15 pounds per month to do that. Long-term, patients will see 50% excess weight loss out to about 5 years. And so that's where that education comes in, because patients will definitely lose weight after with the changes that we create in surgery, but it's the education and the knowledge that we help the patients gain that will help them long-term to keep the weight off and be successful in the long run.
Exactly what is it you're doing inside of the person when you're doing this surgery?
So that's the training and the surgical part of it. There's several surgeries that we do that are really considered the mainstay right now. Then the newest one, or the most recent one that we're doing a lot of, is called sleeve gastrectomy. And with that, we're removing about 85% of the stomach, basically creating the stomach into kind of a banana shape. So it's not very distensible or stretchable. Also with that, when we take out 85% of it, we're removing a lot of the hormones and peptides that actually influence hunger. And so that's where it's a metabolic surgery and not just a mechanical restriction. The other major surgery that we do a lot of is called the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, or laparoscopic Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, which is very popular. That also is reducing the stomach significantly. The difference between that and the sleeve gastrectomy is we also sort of rearrange some of the small intestine, and so there's also malabsorption. So even if you eat a fair number of calories, you don't absorb all those calories. So it's kind of a double whammy. You're having a reduction in the volume of food, plus you're not absorbing all of the calories when you do consume food.
Do you fill up fast after this surgery? I mean, when you're eating? Yep. We have a friend that did this years ago, and we've gone on some trips with her, and I'll notice that when I sit down and eat, I look like a pig compared to her, because she'll eat just a little bit, and then she's like, well, I'm full. So that's the kind of the idea behind the surgery, right?
Yep, that's a very big part of it. Obviously, the restriction, and they do feel full faster. Over time, that can change as patients start to eat more, which is where we start working with the patients and working on their sort of mental acceptance of, you know what, I don't need to eat a full plate. I can eat a half a plate and have all the nutrition that I need and the enjoyment that I need, so that they don't feel like they need to try and clean up every last bit off the plate. And then that's what helps them be successful in the long term.
Okay, all right. And then after I have the surgery, how long can I expect to be in the hospital recovering from the surgery?
So typically we'll watch patients 1 to 2 nights after surgery, just making sure that they're able to get up, move around, that pain is well controlled, and that they're able to tolerate some liquids. So we want to make sure they stay hydrated. And so usually 1 to 2 nights in the hospital. Obviously, if there's any concerns, we'll keep them longer. But our average length of stay is 2.2 days, and it's starting to edge down as we're doing more and more of these kind of on an outpatient 23-hour hospital stay per patient.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm going to take our second break already. I know we're running out of time. Carly sent me one question I got to make sure I ask you before we completely finish the show out here today. But Northern Arizona healthcare surgeon Dr. Robert Berger with us today. nahealth.com is the website. nahealth.com. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Who doesn't dream of home improvements? Perhaps your kitchen, the real living room. Maybe the bathroom, where you bookend your day. Langstrand Contracting is your one-stop shop from tear down to finishing touches. With 35 years of experience, Chris and his team will work with you to match your family's style and budget. Call Langstrand Contracting today for guidance in bringing your vision to life.
Hi, this is Greg at Verde Solar Power. You know, Arizona has lots of clean, renewable sunshine, and we want to help you take advantage of it with our quality solar installations, and we offer to beat any written offer on a residential solar electric system. So bring us your electric bill and let us show you how solar power will save you money. We're located conveniently here in the Verde Valley and are dedicated to helping the valley go solar. So remember, the energy solution comes up every morning.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettlesHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle, get Gettles.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got a few minutes left in the program. Dr. Robert Berger from Northern Arizona Healthcare is here today. nahealth.com is the website, nahealth.com. We're talking about bariatric surgery. So Carly did send me one question over, and I meant to take care of this right at the beginning. What does it mean to be a metabolic and bariatric surgery accreditation and quality improvement program? It's a mouthful, but can you take care of that one for us? Okay.
Sure. That basically means that we are inspected, or they come out and review our program every 3 years. It's a combination program between the American College of Surgeons and the American Society for Metabolic Bariatric Surgery. Those are our national societies. They look at our equipment. They look at the physical plant, all the things that we have, the different providers. We report all of our cases, the outcomes of those cases, to a national database. And so they look at that and they compare us to other centers around the country to make sure that our outcomes are, equivalent to that. And if we have any complications or things that aren't going the way that they are, that we're correcting those and improving the outcomes for those patients.
Okay. All right. We were talking about the surgery itself, and you said it's like 2.2 days that most people wind up staying in the hospital after the surgery, and that's even starting to shrink down more and more as well. What's the full recovery time? And I kind of feel like these are silly questions, because what takes me to recover may not be the same for you to recover from something in surgery. But is there an average of the full recovery where somebody doesn't have to come in to see you anymore and make sure the stitches are right and, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so follow-up, the first 3 days are kind of the roughest just after the surgery, getting over the anesthesia, because it's a general anesthetic that you undergo. But once patients get home, they're really not taking much pain medicine. So the pain isn't as much of a concern as much as the new dietary changes. And that's part of the education beforehand. So patients will be on liquids for, the first several days, and then they'll go to soft kind of mushy foods and then harder foods. And most patients will tell me that when they go back to work, kind of taking their new dietary habits with them is really the biggest struggle. We will see patients back the first week after surgery to make sure that they've recovered again at a month, to make sure that they're progressing their diet correctly. And then we actually see them back every 3 months for the first year, and we are checking lab work at that time. Again, making sure that there's no nutritional deficiencies, that the patients are getting all the vitamins and supplements that they need and they're absorbing them correctly. We're also adjusting medications. Patients are coming off of diabetes medications, heart medications, all those kinds of things during that rapid weight loss. And so we're monitoring and adjusting those during that time.
More of those benefits that you were talking about, right? How nice would it be to be off diabetes medication, not having to maybe take insulin every day, and just feeling better and having your joints feel better and everything else, your back, your neck, your knees, your ankles, your feet. Yeah, just amazing. So look him up. Dr. Robert Berger, right? That's all we've got time for. But I appreciate you being here today and filling us in on this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That website again for more information, nahealth.com, nahealth.com. That's today's Countywide. As always, we thank you for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.